Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Disney, and I want to talk about Disney's newest attempt, which, in my humble opinion, Disney is making a very real, very concerted attempt to displace Dungeons and Dragons as the number one tabletop role-playing game in the world, but they're coming at it from an incredibly different approach. Right? So I want to explain why this attempt to replace Dungeons and Dragons as the number one tabletop role-playing game in the world, why this is occurring, how Disney is doing it, and why it has a different shape than any attempt to displace Dungeons and Dragons has ever taken. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, so first of all, I'll set the stakes in the ground now. We're talking about Disney Lorcana. All right, what is Disney Lorcana? In case you didn't know, Disney Lorcana is a brand new product which is launched, right? The product exists. The cards are existing right now. They're already out, okay? So right now at D23, this just happened this month, okay? Disney distributed the first Lorcana cards to the public. These cards. So what is a Lorcana card? Well, Lorcana is exactly like Magic the Gathering. Okay, it is the only difference is the setting. Okay, it actually has power and toughness on its creature cards. It has creatures and it has locations and it has artifacts. It has every single card type that Magic the Gathering has. And if you look at it, it is clearly structured to play and be a direct product mirror of Magic the Gathering. Okay. Now, what happened with these lore cards? So Disney launches Disney launches 6 Disney Lorcana cards, and guess what's on them? Non-player characters and dragons, right? Like, it's Magic the Gathering with a Disney it's Magic the Gathering specifically designed to embrace literally the entirety of all intellectual properties Disney controls, right? Or the vast majority of them, right? In my humble opinion, that's what it's doing, right? So what happened with this? People are trust. If you come for the king, you best not miss. People have been coming to try to beat Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering for a long time, right? So basically, and the vast majority have failed. Nothing in the world competes with Magic the Gathering at its level. It has crushed all competitors exactly the same way Dungeons and Dragons has crushed all of its competitors, right? So everybody's like, oh, I'll make a tabletop role-playing game and I'll beat D&D. Nope, you wrong. Paizo was right for 1 month and then got shoved back in its proper place, which is second, right? Yeah. So, and tons of people have come for the crown on Magic the Gathering. Ain't none of them taking it, right? Now, I don't even think for a minute, right? And so where does that leave us, right? So what happened with Disney Lorcana? 6 cards. They are selling for, right now, there are completed orders shown on eBay. This is not what people are asking. This is what it sold for, okay? They 6 cards have sold for $2,200. That's $350 a card, right? So this has been extremely well received, right? Now, this Disney Lorcana, in my humble opinion, is Disney's attempt not to defeat Magic the Gathering, but to defeat Dungeons and Dragons. Why is that? I'm going to explain it to you. The best way, in my humble opinion, to understand Magic the Gathering is simply as a supplement of Dungeons and Dragons. It has been that way from the beginning. Let me explain it to you, okay? So first of all, Gary Gygax created Dungeons and Dragons in 1974. Peter Adkison then began playing Dungeons and Dragons. So did Richard Garfield. And when those two men came together to create Magic the Gathering, it is bog standard Dungeons and Dragons to the core, right? The only thing they didn't have any success, so they couldn't get a connection with Dungeons and Dragons, right? But what's really fascinating is the very second, actually even before, the moment they started moving forward with Magic the Gathering, Peter Adkison had his eye on Dungeons and Dragons. And Magic the Gathering was incredibly successful, literally just torrents of money flowing by the millions flowing into Peter Adkison and Richard Garfield. It was the most successful tabletop role-playing game product commercially ever. nothing has ever even come close, right? And so Peter Atkinson, once he had all this money, he was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to make, print more cards? Am I going to buy a yacht? No. You know what he did? Because Magic the Gathering is just Dungeons and Dragons by proxy, right? It's Dungeons and Dragons books printed without the binding. Just call each card a page, right? It's got the same things. It's got characters, it's got locations, it's got entities, non-player characters, it's got artifacts, and it's got relationships. Clear. It's a clear connection to Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is clear. Magic the Gathering is clear. Characters, locations, entities, artifacts, relationships. That's Dungeons and Dragons in a nutshell. That's Magic the Gathering in a nutshell, right? And so Peter Atkinson, he wanted Dungeons and Dragons before he even started Magic the Gathering. He made Dungeons and Dragons in a new form in Magic the Gathering, but it wasn't official, right? But the moment he could make it official, he did. He bought Dungeons and Dragons for $35 million and bought $30 million of debt to get Dungeons and Dragons, right? He was hot for that property, and he Peter Atkinson acquired Dungeons and Dragons, and from that moment forward, Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons have been tied tighter and tighter and tighter together as one cohesive product, understanding Magic the Gathering as a supplement of Dungeons and Dragons. That's what it always intended to be. That's what it is today, in my humble opinion, right? And if you look, and you could debate it, but you got a lot of things to answer if you think those are two distinct products. Planeshift connected 6 realms directly from Magic the Gathering straight back to Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons made 3 canon hardback books connecting 3 additional Magic the Gathering worlds, right? Strixhaven has so many connections that flow between characters, locations, items, and fully connect Magic the Gathering directly to Dungeons and Dragons. I could do 100 videos on it, right? Like, Liliana is the tie. She freely travels between Magic the Gathering and the Dungeons and Dragons realms. And there's even one product that literally lists MTG X D&D, right? Like, it's just one cohesive product, right? That there's a notebook that has slots for your cards and grid paper for your maps. Like, saying to DMs, when you build for Dungeons and Dragons, you use Magic the Gathering cards and you use the old blue grid paper from 1978 because it's one cohesive world. In my humble opinion, it's clear as day they've been building this thing together, right? So if Disney wants to compete wants to defeat Dungeons and Dragons, they realized they've got to go against Dungeons and Dragons' greatest supplement, which, in my humble opinion, is clearly Magic the Gathering, right? And so that is the divider, right? That is something that no other tabletop role-playing game in the world has ever had, is a library of 40,000 pieces of art, concepts, and ideas, a book that is unbound. And that's all Magic the Gathering really is, in my humble opinion. It is an unbound supplement for Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's all the pages, just smaller without being stripped, and just the distribution is different, right? And you could see with every card they print, it all connects directly back to Dungeons and Dragons. And I think Disney's Lorcana is not an attempt to compete with Magic the Gathering, because Magic the Gathering is the subordinate component. Dungeons and Dragons is the thing of real value, right? And when Peter Atkinson had access to $70 million in funding, he didn't print more cards. He put that money directly to buy something far more valuable than Magic the Gathering, and so he could position Magic the Gathering as a supplement to D&D. And that's really, to understand Magic the Gathering, that's what you need to do. You understand Magic the Gathering is a supplement to Dungeons and Dragons, right? And in my humble opinion, that is super, super clear. It becomes more clear every single day. So in my opinion, Disney's Lorcana, go check out the cards. They are really amazing, and it's going to be Disney's World in Magic structure, right? Magic the Gathering structure. And all of it is an attempt to defeat Dungeons and Dragons, because Dungeons and Dragons has the greater creators, right? The creators of Magic the Gathering looked up at the creators of Dungeons and Dragons. They knew what they had done was nothing compared to it. And they were right. But they have absolutely earned their position as a subordinate product, a subordinate component, a supplement of Dungeons and Dragons. And Magic the Gathering is a powerful supplement, of Magic the Gathering, in my humble opinion. All that's my humble opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.